especially if you're listening to WSIC on Tuesdays at 4.
Hello, and welcome to The Good Soul.
The Good Soul, hosted by Patty Alvarez, features real-world conversations that leave you feeling happy and rejuvenated.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Good morning and welcome to Heart Mooresville, your small town radio show with a big heart. I'm your host, Christine Patterson, and good morning, co-host Don Smyle.
It's time to drop the hammer, boys. Today's show is all about racing, and I could not be more excited.
I feel the testosterone in the NASCAR. I feel it already.
Yes, I am so excited. So sit down, strap in, and get ready for one hell of a show.
I'm ready for it. I'm excited. Don needs to do this every now and then because, so we let him have his manly moment.
I can't do it alone. I need my co-host. But we also need an amazing guest.
Yes.
And today we are super proud to have John Dodson here. And John has a lifetime of racing experience, and we're going to get into that shortly. So, John, thanks for joining us today.
Wow, you set the bar high. Now I'm a little nervous. So thank you both for having me here today. I'm excited, but I'm not nervous, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
So thank you for the nice intro,
dude. All the things you've accomplished in the sport, there's no way you're going to be nervous sitting around talking to the two of us. Trust me.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
All fun. That's the only reason we keep coming back.
Well, when we talk racing, it's either lies or truth.
This is true. This is true. A lot of it we can't talk about. But I'll throw it back to you, Christine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, before we get started, we always love to keep our listeners informed of all the things going on. So we are going to enter our In the News segment.
Boom.
Okay.
And again, the Mooresville Oracle, Christine, will educate us on all things Mooresville.
All things Mooresville. Okay. So remember a couple weeks ago, we were talking about the Big Lot stores closing and how Roses was kind of involved in that. Okay. Well, we have a little clip that's going to kind of catch you up. So play that clip.
All right, roll that clip.
Financially struggling discount chain Big Lots has been thrown another lifeline. Big Lots just announced that it's agreed to a sale transaction with an investment firm, allowing hundreds of stores to stay open and keeping workers on the job. The Columbus-based company filed for bankruptcy back in September and recently announced it was preparing to close its remaining 900-plus locations after another acquisition fell through.
So that company that they're talking about is Variety Wholesalers Group, which is the parent company for Roses. So we talked about last time Roses, was interested in purchasing the store. Well, now they're interested in purchasing 200 Big Lot stores. So not only does that affect us in Mooresville, that, our Mooresville store might be able to stay open, but also many Big Lot stores might be able to stay open.
Interesting.
Yeah. They actually, after they filed bankruptcy September last year, in January, there was a company called Gordon Brothers that had purchased them through the bankruptcy court. Then they started selling them off. So Variety is hoping to get those 200 stores and be able to keep them open. I like Big Lots. I hope they stay open.
Yeah, it's just a staple. It's one of those stores you go into and you can find a little bit of everything and probably things you didn't even think you were going to find.
Crunch and Munch. I buy my Crunch and Munch there.
I buy
snacks.
The popcorn.
Yeah. See, they have good snacks, and they're actually pretty cheap.
All right, well, they got a couple dollars sitting at this table, so I guess they can stay open.
There you go. All right. Also, big news is, Iredell County Board of Commissioners just had their planning retreat, and there were several developments after that. The first is the new elementary school. So one of the topics of discussion was the population growth in the county. So obviously growth is something that we're all experiencing, especially in Iredell County. And there are 10 Iredell Statesville schools that are over capacity right now, one of which is Troutman Elementary School, which is at 117% capacity. So the discussion was about this new elementary school that's planned for Mooresville, which is expected to be named Parkertown Elementary School. So Iredell County Commissioners put another $10 million aside for that school. Now, they had already put $20 million aside, so they now have $30 million for this school. Now, the cost is about $60 million, but they do plan to use county funds, its fund balance, to cover the rest of the cost, and hope to open by 2027 or 2028 school year.
$60 million?
Yeah. Schools are expensive.
Okay. This thing better look like the Starship Enterprise when they get done with it.
It's state-of-the-art.
Okay.
State-of-the-art schools over there. I know.
Wow.
They're construction
I literally
costs keep
spent
going
half
up.
my childhood in school in a trailer.
I
Okay.
know. I did too.
Right.
Yeah, 5th grade.
So did I.
Yeah. So apparently these kids are moving up in the world.
Yeah.
Good for the Iredell kids.
Yeah, but obviously we do need schools to keep up with that population growth, and it's not slowing. So I'm glad that they are planning for that. Also, another decision that was made was their Iredell County Commissioners okayed just over $200,000 incentive for a new manufacturer that's moving to Statesville. It's RMC Advanced Technologies, which is a subsidiary of Nano Explorer. They're headquartered in Montreal, Canada. They manufacture equipment including molding presses, bonding assembly presses equipped with built-in adhesive application robots. That sounds fun. Yeah, so that was about $200,000 that will be paid over a 5-year period based on an investment of $21 million. And obviously that company is supposed to create some new jobs for the area.
Well, with all the people moving here, and we are the fastest growing suburb in the United States, new schools and places for people to work.
Yes.
Right?
Lots of exciting new things happening.
Yeah.
And then the last story that I want to point out is, so every year, North Carolina Department of Commerce, they share their annual rankings for the states. So there's 100 counties, in North Carolina, and they rank them based on their economic well-being. So since 2007, the states utilize this 3-level system to assign each county a tier, which they then use to determine like state funding opportunities to be able to assist with economic development. There's 4 factors that they look at when determining what tier a county is in. It's average unemployment rate, their median household income, percentage of population growth, and then their adjusted property tax base per capita. So Iredell County continues to rank as a Tier 3 or least distressed county. The average wage in Iredell County is $62,669, and it's the 6th highest wage in North Carolina behind Durham, Mecklenburg, Wake, Orange, and Forsyth counties. And then Iredell County continues to rank in the top 10 in terms of population growth, which is about 7.3%.
All right.
So
Well.
lots of obviously, lots of things going on. The county continues to grow. We're seeing that growth. We're seeing the negative effects of that growth, but we also see the positive effects of that growth. And, hopefully our elected officials and leaders are making plans for that growth. But I think that, that's what we're seeing. And so good things happening.
Yeah, and the widening project, I don't know if you've seen, but if you go on to the Mooresville official webpage and look, there's an amazing video that kind of shows the changes that are going to take place. So what's anticipated to take place in terms of that widening project, very significant.
Yeah.
And obviously there'll be some pains associated with that, but the end result is going to be pretty amazing. So something to look forward to.
Yeah, lots of good things happening. Yeah, so we are in a community that is full of growth and good things happening. One of the things that's great about our community is we are Race City, USA.
Say it again.
Race City, USA.
Say it again.
We're going to hold on to that.
Yeah, lots of things happening in the racing world, NASCAR, which we're going to talk all about in a minute.
Yeah, Mooresville has an extensive history and certainly went through some ebbs and flows. But back on the up, and John, our special guest has experience in all of those, and we're going to talk about that when we come back from break. And I am super excited.
All
So
right.
start your engines. Here we go. All right, we'll be back here on WSIC.
Let's go racing, boys!
That's pretty good.
Stay in the know with all things Mooresville. Heart Mooresville continues next on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Oh boy, talk about a big change in our weather. Dress warm and grab the rain gear on the way out the door. You'll need it for the next couple of days. Scattered cold rain likely for most of the area. Temperatures only get up to around 40 today, dropping back into the mid-30s overnight. That rain will continue through the day on Wednesday and into early Thursday morning before we finally start to dry it out Thursday afternoon and drying it out just in time for Valentine's Day. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The app with Lake Norman deals. The WSIC app is out now, wherever you get your apps.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Thursday, February 13th, Lake Norman Woman Magazine is hosting Ladies' Night at Bin 110 in Cornelius. The relaxing social evening begins at 6:30 p.m. Feel free to come make new friends, get to know your neighbors in the community, and possibly catch up with pals you have not seen in a while. Bin 110 hosts Ladies' Night this Thursday, brought to you by Lake Norman Woman Magazine. The Wine Maestro in Statesville has live music with Captain Dar on Friday. Captain Dar delivers entertainment with a capital E. With his acoustic music sets, it makes a perfect addition to your Valentine's Day plans. The Wine Maestro in Statesville presents live music on Friday night at 7 p.m. Mooresville Arts and Events welcomes you to join them for a date night like no other in the ballrooms of the Charles Mack Citizen Center on Friday and Saturday. Sigmund Theatrical's Murder Mystery Crew is back with Check-In for Murder. The action will unfold around you, with some guests even becoming characters inside of the story. It's a high-class evening of dinner, theater, and mystery. Visit statesvilleevents.com for tickets and information. Enjoy the Valentine's Day special at the Speedway Club at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Come celebrate with that someone special with a 3-course dinner or something off the regular menu. The Speedway Club Valentine's Special runs Thursday, February 13th through Saturday, February 15th. Then on Sunday, you can cheer on your favorite driver during the Great American Race at the Speedway Club Daytona 500 viewing party. Visit 704-455-3216 for Speedway Club reservations or visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for more information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Merlefest 2025, presented by Window World, returns April 24th through the 27th in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hear the Avett Brothers, Bonnie Raitt, The Dead South, Watch House, Wyatt Floors, I'm With Her, Leftover Salmon, The Warren Treaty, The Steel Drivers, and many more. For tickets, visit merlefest.org.
All things Mooresville to keep you in the Noseville. Join in the conversation by calling 844-STUDIO-4. Now, back to the show.
Well, welcome back to Heart Mooresville on WSIC. Today's show is all about racing, and I could not be more excited. I spent more than 20 plus years in NASCAR. However, our guest today, grew up in racing and has an amazing history that we're going to get to. So John Dodson is the Vice President of Business Alliances and NASCAR at the Universal Technical Institute. But that's just his latest endeavor. And, John and his family, have somewhat an amazing history in racing, in NASCAR in particular. And I'm going to let John tell that story. So, John, tell us how you got involved in racing and the roots of all of that, because I think it's a fascinating story.
Okay.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you very much. So my dad was a race car driver back in the 50s. He raced on the beaches at Daytona. He drove a convertible for Lee Petty when Lee Petty drove the hardtop. And Lee Petty's Richard Petty's dad, for the race fans out there that don't know that. But he was one of the pioneers. He was at the first meeting at Martinsville dirt track when the drivers voted to make Bill France, put him in charge of developing a sanctioning body, and then he called it NASCAR, and then he later took charge of that and developed it. But my grandfather was a moonshiner in the mountains of North Carolina. That's true. We embraced that because you had to do that to get through the Depression. I never knew him, but I know all the stories there, and then that's how NASCAR racing got developed. We got this beautiful clay soil in North Carolina that God gave us, and we figured out how to race on it. And NASCAR started the grassroots right here in Georgia, some parts of Southern Virginia. And so my family grew up in it. My brothers, Barry, Bruce, older than me, and my younger brother, Brad. So all 4 brothers. We all worked at Petty Enterprise at some time. My brother Brad works at
the
Legacy.
University of Petty.
The University of Petty. That's
right.
Exactly right. Petty College is what they call it down there, because they taught everybody how to do it the right way the first time. If you didn't, you did work over down there. And they just taught you how to do it right. And tremendous, amazing family, all of them, everybody down there, amazing people. And I was blessed enough to do that. But I started with Richard Childress. He was a race car driver. Of course, he owned Dale Earnhardt's car, but Richard drove his own car.
He did.
All right. I started in high school for him. So I was in high school in Winston-Salem, and I would drive down to the shop and wash parts and, beg him for a job. And we had a service station, and but I would go there, and he finally gave me a job after school. So he had to actually fill out my report card. I was in a program called ICT, cooperative training, that I wasn't going to go to college. I always knew that the Dodson brothers were going to go racing. And that's what we did. And he would fill out my report card, and he would say, "What do you want me to put on here?" So I changed tires for him in the 1979 Daytona 500, and I was 17 years old, still a senior in high school, and had to come back. I missed 11 days of school. I come back and I had to quit going on the road till I got my diploma, and then after that, I went to work for the Petties.
All right, so I just want to connect the dots here for people because John just told us a whole lot. But if you're talking about the history of NASCAR, you have sand, Daytona Beach, right? You have Martinsville, right? You have moonshine. You have the Petties, right? And you did all of that.
And Bowman Gray.
And you have seen or been involved in all of that. You're like the Forrest Gump of racing.
Well,
I mean, seriously.
You were just there.
It was just, you were there.
Well, I'm just fortunate that I had a family that, that was able to put me there. So when we were teenagers, me and Kyle Petty and Buddy Baker's kids and Maurice's kids were playing football in the infield, and when the race was over, we'd run out to Victory Lane, and because Richard typically won.
Right.
I remember climbing up at Rockingham, and we changed the scoreboard and put 43 on every score. And Richard was laughing at us and said, "Stay down from there." And and you grew up in it, and then somebody finally gave me a break. I want to do it full time, and it's just in our heart. It wasn't anything else. We were not going to have any other type of job. I never thought about anything else but racing. I'm at NASCAR Tech, and that's what I want to see when we get students. Is it really in your heart? Do you really want to do it? Are you willing to go work for nothing?
Right.
Like I did. I remember the first time I got paid was at Martinsville. I was tying Benny Parsons' car down on the trailer when you towed him.
Right.
And I had a 75 Vega. I drove to the racetrack, and David the crew chief, slid under the trailer and put $20 in my pocket and said, "Can you come to Wilkesboro? You've been good help today." And that's the first time I ever got paid for doing something I loved.
Yeah.
And it's paid off.
Yeah. Back in the day, I mean, that's the thing is in your era, you had to want to do it. You had to love the sport because you typically didn't get paid. And if you did, it wasn't very much.
That's right.
Right. And you were traveling over the road all the time. You were maybe sleeping in your car on the way. You think about trailering cars from North Carolina to Riverside.
Oh, yes.
Right. And back. I mean, because you're racing on the West Coast, and it wasn't like people got in jets and flew out there and, big giant haulers and transporters.
Right.
I mean, this was for the pure love of it. Right?
Absolutely, because it wasn't for the money, and you everything you said. I've slept in my car. I've starved for it. Whatever I could do, and eventually it paid off. But I also got my ears open, my mouth shut, and worked.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember being on the balcony at Daytona. I was 15 or 14 years old maybe, and I went to the track one day, me and Kyle, and I helped out at the track. And that evening we were sitting on the balcony, and it was Richard Petty or Maurice Petty behind me, and we were just looking out the ocean. I said, "I think I'll stay here and swim tomorrow." And he said, "No, you're not. You're going to the track. you're going to work. You're helping." And I thought, well, yes, sir, I'm going. I'll do what I'm told. But I thought at that moment, well, evidently I did okay today.
Right.
And then he called me later when I actually turned 18 years old and said, "Are you ready to come to work for Petty Enterprise?"
Wow.
And I got that call. I was living with my grandma, and she said, "Maurice Petty's on the phone." Now, you think about that. When you're 18 years old and you get a call from Maurice Petty and said, "You ready to come to work for us?" And I did. And I found out I hated working on engines. And 7 months later, I quit and eventually, got into building cars. Is what my passion was forming, fabricating, forming a body on a race car where you could stretch the rules and use your imagination and your artistic ability, and that's what you got to have for that.
Back in the day, and you talk about Petty, getting that seal of approval, right? And that means as much today as it did then. I will tell you a quick story. I interviewed Richard. I've interviewed him multiple times during my career, but I interviewed him probably 2 years ago. And when we got done with the interview, he walked over and he put that massive hand on my shoulder and he said, "Son, you did good. You made my life easy." And that, to get a compliment like that from Richard Petty, I will take that to my grave. And it's probably the biggest compliment I ever got, was because Richard doesn't hand those out like candy. And so if you get a seal of approval from somebody like that, it stays with you for a long time and it means something.
Yep. And it does. And it takes you the rest of your life. I mean, I so much respect that man and Roger Penske and people like that, that you want to be like them. You know what I mean? And I'll never be like them, but there'll never be another king. He is the king for a reason, and he's such a kind, loving man. Never, ever has he had a cross word for me, but always just put a hand around your shoulder and, yeah, what's going on?
You do know when you've gotten on the wrong side of him, and many drivers will tell you it's when he sticks that big 36-inch index finger in your face, because his finger's like that long, and when he sticks it in your face, you know you have crossed the line.
Yep. Maurice was more of my, the one who took care of me in that matter. Did you do this, boy? Yes, sir. Don't do it again. But that's what you need. You really got to have tough skin to race. My brother was really tough on me, Barry.
Sure.
But he was a phenomenal crew chief, one of the best ever, and he was, when it's family, you don't hold anything back. It's tough. But he taught me so much, and if he did something wrong, he taught me not to do that. You know what I mean?
Well, I think anybody who's followed racing for a while knows who Barry Dodson, and he was instrumental in Rusty's career, and certainly and many others. And so we're gonna get more into that in the second segment, because I think your family history is amazing, your history is amazing. But tell us what John is doing now, and I mentioned you're the VP of Business Alliance and NASCAR Universal Technical Institute. So just give us a quick overview of UTI for those who may not know or heard it but don't really know what it is.
Yeah, so NASCAR Technical Institute. So I've been racing for 25 years and had little girls and wanted to be home with them and thinking, what am I going to do? So we were closing our race team down, and they said they're going to open the school. I got a meeting with them, and they gave me 6 subjects on a sheet of paper, and they held it up and said, NASCAR engines 1, engines 2, fabrication, can you make this happen? I said, I can make that happen. And I'd never been in the education business. I had an opportunity to go to work for Dale Earnhardt on his Speedway cars because we were getting engines from them and a couple other offers. And I thought, if I don't try this, I'll never know. And I can always go back to building race cars. I still have my skills. I still got my tools. I'm valuable in the industry, but I thought I'd try this. So we opened NASCAR Tech in 2002. We put thousands of graduates, out into the automotive industry, but thousands in NASCAR now. I've got students that call me, hiring people from me that graduated in 04 and 05 now on race teams, and I meet them, and they introduce their children to me. They introduce their wife and tell me where they live here now in the community. Every team, so yes, to your question, we're the NASCAR Technical Institute. Excuse me. We're putting guys out in the industry every 3 weeks. But when you look at a truck race Friday night at Daytona, I'm heading down there. Every team out there has a NASCAR Tech graduate on it. Xfinity races Saturday. Every team has a NASCAR Tech graduate, or 2 or 3.
Wow.
The Cup race, every pit crew, every team out there has NASCAR Tech graduates on it. We win every week. We're in victory lane every week. People say, who's your favorite? Doesn't matter.
Right.
One of my guys or girls are going to be on that team. Not only that, we've got the IndyCar teams at Penske, Andretti, Foyt. I've put them on all those teams, and now Ferrari.
Well, I mean, just so from a influence perspective and having an impact on the sport, you go from making a personal impact to now having even greater impact throughout motorsports in general, and that's got to be very satisfying.
It's gratifying, and what's gratifying is to see a student when he knows he's getting an interview at Roush Yates and he gets that job, and then his parents come and they want to thank me. I said, look, we're just the connector. Your child earned it.
Right.
They earned this opportunity. They came in here and did everything they're supposed to do at the school. They showed up. They got off the couch from Arizona and moved out here, or Texas or whatever, because they want to do this for a living. So they earn it, and it's there. You're there as an individual, and nobody's going to stop you.
Well, we could talk about this all day, and we're going to when we come back here on Heart Mooresville and WSIC with John Dodson. Be right back.
Stick around. More Heart Mooresville with host Christine Patterson and Don Smyle is coming up on WSIC. Local starts here.
Oh boy, talk about a big change in our weather. Dress warm and grab the rain gear on the way out the door. You'll need it for the next couple of days. Scattered cold rain likely for most of the area. Temperatures only get up to around 40 today, dropping back into the mid-30s overnight. That rain will continue through the day on Wednesday and into early Thursday morning before we finally start to dry it out Thursday afternoon and drying it out just in time for Valentine's Day. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Craving a taste of Italy? At Palmadora's, we serve up scratch-made comfort with every bite. From our hand-tossed pizzas to classic pasta dishes, it's the perfect place to gather your family or just treat yourself. Visit palmadoras.com for menus and hours. Your table's waiting.
You're in specials, Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville. How about this for a bargain? 2024 Chevrolet Equinoxes. These are the LT models, as low as $22,770. We have got over 25 of these vehicles in stock. You pick the color, drive it home today. That is a Randy Marion Chevrolet Statesville special. Again, $22,770. $22,770. Only a couple thousand miles on these vehicles. Come see them today. Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Hi, this is Andy with Lake Mountain Coffee, located at 110 West Broad Street in Statesville. Did you know we also own and operate Statesville's first coffee roasting facility? We roast coffee beans for businesses, fundraising events, special occasions such as a wedding. We can even put a custom message on the back of your bags. If you're a company or simply someone with a coffee need, give us a call at 704-252-1886. And remember, if you want fresh, you must go local.
Hey, it's Kevin Harrison with Harrison's. Now's the time to load up on layers. From lightweight long-sleeve t-shirts to heavy-duty Sherpa-lined coats and everything in between. Harrison's has what you need to work safe and work warm all winter long. Come see us on Norman Station Boulevard in Mooresville.
The best talk all day long.
WSIC.
Local starts here.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Wall Street's leading investment bank is getting rid of a rule requiring diversity in companies with which it does business. In 2020, Goldman Sachs said it would only take a company public in the U.S. or Western Europe if that company had at least one diverse board member. Then it expanded the requirement to at least 2 board members, one of whom must be a woman. But today, Goldman is ending that policy due to legal requirements related to board diversity. Major players in the travel business are watching their stocks fall today. It follows a surprising bit of gloom from hotel giant Marriott International. Countering recent upbeat reports from airlines, hotel operators, and other travel businesses, Marriott says it sees soft patches ahead for hospitality, forecasting growth of 4 to 5% in the number of rooms it expects to book this year. Last year, the increase was nearly 7%. On Wall Street, main indexes are down, but no longer at session lows. Dow, NASDAQ, S&P, each losing roughly 0.1%. Ads are O'Day. Bloomberg Radio.
Who is this? This is 105.9 100.7.
WSIC. Local starts here.
I Heart Mooresville. Ooh, we should put that on a t-shirt. Sorry, New York. 105.9 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
And welcome back to I Heart Mooresville. I'm your host, Christine Patterson, with co-host Don Smyle. And
Vroom.
And we are in our racing edition,
Yes.
talking to John Dodson, Vice President of Business Alliance and NASCAR at Universal Technical Institute. Learned a lot about how you got involved in racing, how you kind of grew up in a racing family. Now, I'm sure you have worked with a lot of people in your career. Mm-hmm. Who are, some of the racers that you've worked with?
Well, a lot of Hall of Famers. I guess I can go down the list if I can remember all of them. But first of all, it was Richard Petty, helping in the pits when I was just a teenager, sneaking in the pits. Mm-hmm. Didn't have a license. My brother got a uniform on me, and I could sneak in the pits and just go in like, there was times when somebody said, "Are you Kyle Richard's son?" And I'm like, "Boy, that's flattering," but no. So I worked for so Richard Petty started out, and then I worked for Richard Childress, who was a driver, then became Dale Earnhardt's owner. He was a driver, and then back to Petty Enterprise again with Kyle and Richard Petty. And then I worked for, our team was in Savannah, Georgia. It was MC Anderson's race team. So I worked for Buddy Baker, Benny Parsons, Cale Yarborough, Tim Richmond, Rusty Wallace, Ricky Rudd, Ernie Irvin, again with Kyle Petty on the Mellow Yellow car. I changed tires on the Mellow Yellow car for Kyle. And we've always been very close, good friends. I don't know how close, but we've always been good friends. Let's see. And then we had other people drive our car. Dick Trickle drove our car at times. Mickey Gibbs drove our car. Some of maybe not Hall of Famers, but that's a pretty good list of Hall of Famers right there with, Kel Yarborough, Tim Richmond, Rusty Wallace.
You just
I
named
mean,
like
it's a
everyone.
who's who. And I think one of the things that's important if you live in Mooresville, and people know it is Race City USA, but that didn't always exist. And you were part of the evolution of how that happened.
Yeah.
You were boots on the ground during that time, and you can tell that story. So I think it's important for the people in Mooresville to understand, how did we become Race City USA? Tell us that story.
Yes, because I do know the story. I moved here in '84, and that's when I went to work full-time for Tim Richmond and the old Milwaukee Pontiac in Charlotte. So the reason we moved to Mooresville is I'm from Winston-Salem area, up above there. And so my wife could go home on the weekends, and I would go racing. Our plane flew out of Statesville a lot of times, so I moved to Mooresville.
Kind of split the difference.
Yeah, split the difference.
Right.
Hour home for her, 30 minutes. That's when you could go from Mooresville to Charlotte in 30 minutes.
In 30 minutes, yeah.
Mooresville was just a mill town. The mills were open when I moved here in '84. 150 was a sleepy little road with houses and farms. It was nothing. It was one service station or two on 77. That's it.
And all the race shops were in Charlotte.
Everything was in Charlotte.
Right.
All the race teams were in Charlotte region, around Charlotte Speedway or so
Nothing in
forth.
Concord yet.
Well,
around that time.
a little bit in Concord, but mainly Charlotte area.
Yeah.
And racing wasn't like it is today. Everything wasn't televised. It was starting to be, a little bit. So we built the business park behind Chick-fil-A here in Mooresville, and Chuck Ryder with Michael Waltrip put his race team in the business park. I think he was the anchor, one of the first people to build in that business park. And he did that to escape the Mecklenburg County taxes. Just over the county line in Mooresville, this new business park. So he built his team there. So then when we shut down Blue Max and Roger Penske bought our team and took Rusty Wallace and had Miller Genuine Draft as the sponsor, then he decided, hey, I don't want to put it there. If Chuck Ryder's built a shop here, let's put another race shop in there. So then here's Penske and Chuck Ryder's race team, Bahari Racing. So then everybody took note and said, why are you doing this? Well, now we don't have to pay these Mecklenburg County taxes. So then racing teams started, commuting up to Mooresville, not commuting, but relocating to
Migrating,
Mooresville.
yes.
Migrating.
Yeah.
And then they had to build shops to support, like a parts store to support it, things like that. So, Stock Car Steel's here now. So we slowly became Race City. When we put it on the water tank, we became Race City USA.
So Waltrip started it. He was the first one.
Yeah, Michael Waltrip's race team was here. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Country Time Lemonade.
Chuck Ryder, Country Time, the bright yellow cars. Everybody remembers those. Pontiac at the time.
And that's how we got started. It was, Mooresville really didn't talk about racing. But now you got to remember, Mooresville was a part of the moonshining era in the fast cars, because they would bring liquor down from Wilkesboro, from the Steels. They'd come to Charlotte. They'd stop in Mooresville and deliver some and then keep going. So the hot rods were here, but it was never like, NASCAR racing.
Well, and we talk about John's history in racing and history of Mooresville. The other thing that's really important for people to understand is your involvement in the North Carolina Auto Racing Hall of Fame, which is housed in that same business park that you just talked about. And tell us the evolution of that and what your involvement is in that facility.
Yeah, that was Don Miller's idea. So Don Miller was the president of Team Penske for 20 years, more than 20 years. He had the idea to put this museum here, like a North Carolina auto racing. So it's motorcycles, it's drag cars, it's anything motor racing in North Carolina. And it's a true gem in our community. Everybody that works there is a volunteer. So it totally runs on volunteerism. And then all the money we do raise goes to Pharaoh's Parenting for abused children in North Carolina. So when we get the bills paid, then everything we can, we give to that. So he thought about that in 1994 and started it. And, started induction ceremonies. So A.J. Foyt, Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty, we had them all here. And then from there, I was laying in bed one night and I was thinking, Don asked me to be on the board. After several years, NASCAR Tech, we supported the Hall of Fame. I love the history of our sport, just like you, Don. That's how you and I have this connection because we really love the history. It's a short history, so we can get everything. We can kind of keep, retain it.
I love the history. You created the history, so it's a match made.
I didn't. I'm just lucky to be on
part of it there, Forrest Gump.
On the back of some of these people. But I got on the board and because I love it. I love being in there and seeing a 37 Ford with a flathead engine that I know my daddy raced that. So I just love our history. Well, I was laying in bed one night, and for some reason I thought about the sidewalk in Hollywood. I'd been there, and I'm like, we should do a sidewalk. And I said, we should do that, you know? So I called Hollywood, the Chamber of Commerce in Hollywood, and left a message. And they called me back.
I called Hollywood.
I did. I was like, what do you do? How do you do a sidewalk? You know, so they called me back. And I couldn't believe that, you know, and I was at NASCAR Tech working, and I said, well, I want to do a sidewalk here for NASCAR for our Hall of Fame drivers. And I said, well, what do you do? How do you do this? And they said, well, it's terrazzo. It's a process called terrazzo. When you go in these buildings downtown and you see the terrazzo floor and how it's poured, and they said, surely somebody close by makes terrazzo. So I Googled terrazzo. It's made in Raleigh. There's a company in Raleigh that does it. So I just kept messing with it. And then I go talk to Don Miller and I'd say, what about a sidewalk? How are we going to fund it or whatever? And the first idea was NASCAR Tech would buy the first one and we'd sponsor it. And then maybe Hampton Inn or Randy Marion would buy the next one, or Mooresville Ford, and we'd sell them that way. Then the Travel and Tourism, Ron Johnson, who just passed away, you know, rest his soul, he said, let the Travel and Tourism pay for them and you don't have to sponsor them. Well, the first one I made was a NASCAR Tech demo. We got it made, and we had it. It's left over. Well, guess who wanted that? Richard Petty. Right. So when you go to the Richard Petty Museum, the first demo of it made was Richard Petty's name with NASCAR Tech is in his sidewalk when you walk in the museum.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look for that when I go up there next time.
So that's a piece of something. So anyway, we developed it and got it going, and got the town to pay for it. And now, not the town, the Travel and Tourism said they'll pay for it. And then you guys have come in from the town and helped us with this event, making it bigger now. So it's a must-see event. And you never go downtown that someone isn't stopping to look at one of the emblems or taking a picture. And I'm always wiping them off if I see something on them or something. But it just came as a brainstorm, and it took 5 years to finally get it in the ground.
Well, for people who haven't been to downtown Mooresville, or if you have and you haven't looked down, do, because you are stepping on history. It literally is a who's who of automotive racing history, not just NASCAR, all forms of motorsports, which is what the North Carolina Auto Racing Hall of Fame his mission is to elevate and educate people on the entire history of racing. But you'll see everybody in the sidewalk, and you really need to appreciate the effort that Don Miller and John have put into making this happen and making it a tourist destination along with the town. And John mentioned, that when the 150 celebration happened, the town had been involved in helping facilitate this event, but the 150 celebration was kind of the catalyst for like amplifying it, and the town really got involved, in Christine's team, and the town council, and everybody got behind it. And of course, the inductees didn't hurt. We had Edsel Ford and Roger Penske.
There you go.
Excuse me. So yeah, the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, which happen in October every year, are a must-see event. And the inductees are always people that you grew up watching in any form of motorsport, and to get that close and up and personal with them in downtown Mooresville, you have to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and it's free.
Yeah,
I mean it's free, but there's a lot invested, and people don't know the how much work it goes into it. I really appreciate the town of Mooresville and the Travel and Tourism and all the effort put into it, and I know Don does, and it's exciting. This coming up this year, hold on. It's going to be fun in October when we induct the next one.
I always like the fact that we don't know. I happen to be on a planning committee, so I do find out a little bit early, but it's always like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Right. And there's some big names. And last year, I don't know how we can top last year, because Shirley Muldowney is a firecracker.
She is.
That was my favorite part, was meeting her. She's amazing.
She's a pistol.
She was on the racetrack too. So we know how to pick a flower.
Yeah, you pick some good ones. And I love hearing Don Miller speak about how many people attend or come from all over to come to the museum.
Oh yeah.
I mean, other countries. He rattled off like 10 other countries that people come just to see the museum.
All the time. And it's like $5 to get in, If you don't have $5, just tell them.
Yeah, and just set aside about 4 or 5 hours, because you're not going to want to leave that place.
There's a lot. All right, we'll be right back with Heart Mooresville here on WSIC News.
There's more Heart Mooresville on the way from 105.9 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Oh boy, talk about a big change in our weather. Dress warm and grab the rain gear on the way out the door. You'll need it for the next couple of days. Scattered cold rain likely for most of the area. Temperatures only get up to around 40 today, dropping back into the mid-30s overnight. That rain will continue through the day on Wednesday and into early Thursday morning before we finally start to dry it out Thursday afternoon and drying it out just in time for Valentine's Day. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Thursday, February 13th, Lake Norman Woman Magazine is hosting Ladies' Night at Bin 110 in Cornelius. The relaxing social evening begins at 6:30 p.m. Feel free to come make new friends, get to know your neighbors in the community, and possibly catch up with pals you have not seen in a while. Bin 110 hosts Ladies' Night this Thursday, brought to you by Lake Norman Woman Magazine. The Wine Maestro in Statesville has live music with Captain Dar on Friday. Captain Dar delivers entertainment with a capital E with his acoustic music sets and makes a perfect addition to your Valentine's Day plans. The Wine Maestro in Statesville presents live music on Friday night at 7 p.m. Mooresville Arts and Events welcomes you to join them for a date night like no other in the ballrooms of the Charles Mack Citizen Center on Friday and Saturday. Sigmund Theatrical's Murder Mystery Crew is back with Check-In for Murder. The action will unfold around you, with some guests even becoming characters inside of the story. It's a high-class evening of dinner, theater, and mystery. Visit statesvilleevents.com for tickets and information. Enjoy the Valentine's Day special at the Speedway Club at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Come celebrate with that someone special with a 3-course dinner or something off the regular menu. The Speedway Club Valentine's Special runs Thursday, February 13th through Saturday, February 15th. Then on Sunday, you can cheer on your favorite driver during the Great American Race at the Speedway Club Daytona 500 viewing party. Visit 704-455-3216 for Speedway Club reservations or visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for more information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Merlefest 2025, presented by Window World, returns April 24th through the 27th in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hear the Avett Brothers, Bonnie Raitt, The Dead South, Watch House, Wyatt Floors, I'm With Her, Leftover Salmon, The Warren Treaty, The Steel Drivers, and many more. For tickets, visit merlefest.org.
All things Mooresville to keep you in the Noseville. Join in the conversation by calling 844-STUDIO-4. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the fastest edition of Heart Mooresville ever recorded here on WSIC. This has been an amazing hour, and it just has flown by. John, I think I've come up with a new radio show. You and I need to have our own radio show because we could talk about it, man.
Hey, we could get some sponsors.
We
too.
could. I like. Yeah, you and I know this. I like the way you think. I want to make this happen.
That'd be fun.
And let's face it. You and I could talk about racing all day long, not just the old, but the new. And obviously, you talked about Bowman Gray. Very quickly, we had the All-Star race at Bowman Gray. Your thoughts?
Oh, I thought it was phenomenal. I think we should have the All-Star race there, maybe put a cup race at Wilkesboro. Wilkesboro just gave me chills when I was there. But, man, I'm telling you, I topped the hill at Bowman Gray. I went out to grab a coat. It got cold up there.
Yeah.
And over the hill comes Richard Childress, who grew up there selling peanuts and raced there, like Barry, my brother, and us. And Richard just stopped and gave me a half hug. He said, "Do you feel like we're at home?" I said, "Man, I just can't tell you how I feel." And it was phenomenal. The race was good. Of course, a few wrecks and they run away, but the vibe, the people never sat down. They pushed their cars out like the big modified race.
They're smart race fans, and that's the difference, right? They're not casual. They're vocal and they're smart.
They're very intelligent. Yeah. We might be rednecks, but they know their sport.
Well, and here's the thing. I think you and I, being purists, I think the thing that it warms my heart the most is NASCAR's finally figured out they got to get back to their roots. They got to get back to their roots. And so having North Wilkesboro be resurrected, we're seeing Rockingham back on the schedule, going to Bowman Gray for the All-Star race and putting some money in the infrastructure of that place so that it can continue for many years. That, to me, is the blueprint for success for that event, is to use that event to showcase and remind people of the history. Go to some of the other tracks like Hickory and like these other places, right?
Grassroots. Yeah, and NASCAR just overdid it. Remember, they built all these big grandstands and couldn't fill them, and they took the grandstands down from Rockingham and built the drag race down here. That's the grandstands from Rockingham.
Yeah.
They didn't buy new, because why?
Right.
So you got to get back to the grassroots. The fans are very intelligent. They cheered Burt Myers when he got, I don't know if he wrecked himself or Ricky Stenhouse wrecked him, but they wrecked, and Citrus Safe was on and they paid to be on the car.
Right.
They are elated because they got on the car, and everybody cheered Burt Myers because they won.
Right.
Burt and Tim Brown won. They're the local modified
Right.
drivers. They won by just getting in the race, and then 4 policemen had to walk Ricky Stenhouse to his car when he left because they didn't want him to get.
That's old school NASCAR.
That's the way it is every week at
Yeah.
Bowman Gray. So if you haven't been to Bowman Gray, it's an hour to Winston-Salem. You are missing out.
It is called the Madhouse for a reason.
Yeah.
All right, so we go from one of the shortest tracks on the schedule of any racing to one of the biggest, and we're heading to the Super Bowl of NASCAR this weekend in Daytona. And when I went to Daytona, I don't care how many times you've been there. When you drive through that tunnel and you pop up, tell me about that.
It's just like I said at Bowman Gray. You just get your heart races. You get these chills down your back, and you just start. Me, and probably like you, I go right to history. I go right to Lee Petty flying over the wall, and that car's in the Memory Lane Museum. You know, and I go right to the history and the times when I was there in 1976. I was catching gas for Richard Petty, and I was 15 years old, illegally in the pits, and I'm over pit wall catching gas, and we win the race. You know, we win the race that day, and that's what I go. And changing tires for Richard Childerson, my first race ever in Daytona 500. I just go back to the history, and then when me and my brothers all race there. But it's the Super Bowl. We have our Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, and it's rightfully so. But that race will dictate your season. As a team, it's very, very impactful on everyone. It really dictates how the rest of your season goes.
All right, so I can't thank you enough for coming. I wish we could talk for hours. I want to end this particular part of the show with some rapid fire questions. So I want you to just give me the first thing that comes to mind. All right.
This might be dangerous.
No. It's all good. Who did you work with that had the most raw talent?
Kel Yarborough.
All right. Who was the hardest worker?
Tough one. My brother Barry was a hard worker.
Okay.
Yeah.
But from a race car driver perspective, maybe somebody
standpoint?
who didn't have the best talent but worked the hardest to get success.
Rusty Wallace.
Okay. Who was the most underrated driver?
Let's see. Probably the most underrated I worked for was Mike Bliss. If you want to know where your car was, how good your car was, put Mike Bliss in it.
Yeah, I know Mike. Favorite track?
Wilkesboro.
All right. And finally, your best memory in racing?
It has to be with Richard Petty. Probably the first time I ever met him, we were 11 years old. My brother Barry took us to Petty Enterprise that day. He had to work on a Sunday, and it was a weekend off, and we were standing in the body shop with mask on, and he said, the King will be here in a little bit. Yeah, okay. And the King comes in and looks down and shakes our hand, pats you on the head, and he said, Barry, I'm going to take these boys home with us. Y'all working. So he took me and Bradley, my brother, over to their house. They had Sunday dinner. They offered to feed us, give us bathing suits to swim. Kyle, first day I met Kyle, raced go-karts out in the circle driveway. You could do whatever you wanted. And I went swimming, and we raced go-karts a little while, and they just took us in like, this is our cousins here. And we met them, and we've been friends ever since I was 11 years old.
Wow. That's a great way to start your racing career.
Your life in racing.
And a memory that will last a lifetime. Well, John, we can't thank you enough for coming. We're definitely going to have you back because we have so much that we could talk about. We can't get it all in an hour. So
let's do it.
Appreciate you. And again, how can people learn about the NASCAR Technical Institute?
You can just simply go to uti.edu, and it shows all of our schools. We've got 14 schools across the country, mainly training in automotive and diesel technicians. But here in North Carolina, we have the NASCAR Technical Institute. So we train for the race teams and in the industry, the motorsports industry. But we've got them in monster trucks, drag racing, Indy cars, cup racing. It's all relevant. If you like restoring cars and hot rods, that's what we have here. So that's the next pandemic is, I don't mean to belittle the pandemic, but we've got to have skilled laborers for all the jobs that are available. I mean, we have 3 jobs available for every student we have. So if you really want to work, if you want to go to school for where jobs actually exist.
Right. All right. And the North Carolina Auto Racing Hall of Fame, quickly, hours, location, how people can learn more about that.
Yeah, I think it's 9 to 5, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And it's real easy. You can call there. We don't have a lot of money, so we don't have a great website, but you can It's North Carolina Auto Racing Hall of Fame, and it's really cheap to be in. But if you've never been, it's if you go once, you're going to go back.
Yeah, be prepared to stay for a while because it's just an amazing eye-gasm in there of racing history, and you never know who's going to be in there.
That's exactly right, because we do a lot of celebrity autograph sessions, and they put that on Facebook mainly. It's North Carolina Racing Hall of Fame on Facebook. Yeah, but you never know. The late Bobby Allison would be in there a couple days a week, and you just walk in and there he is. So
yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, Christine, since you've been ultra quiet this entire show while you let the guys talk racing, we appreciate that. Tell us what's going on in your world.
Yeah. Well, first I just want to say if your childhood didn't include racing go-karts on dirt tracks, and I don't want it. Right? Like that sounds so much fun. Actually, I'm a little bummed that we don't have go-karts right now. I'm gonna have to get my daughter in one.
We'll get you one.
But we have 2 go-kart tracks in Mooresville.
I know.
So
now we do go to those.
We have everything Race City right here.
I need one in the backyard though. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So, no, lots going on in Mooresville. Mooresville Arts and Events always has things, on the lineup. We are the hub of all things community and engagement. This weekend is a big weekend for us because we have the Murder Mystery Dinner Theater coming up on the 14th and 15th. It has been sold out, although I will say 4 tickets went back in the queue this morning, so they're like 4 tickets for Saturday. I think they will go so quick. But yes, we Sigma Theatrical puts on a great show for that, and that's this weekend. And then we have Mooresville Day coming up on March 22nd. We have the school mascot dance competition, an artisan market, a family fun zone. So we have rides, a performance stage with local performers throughout the day. It really is just a celebration of all things Mooresville. So come out and join us. And that's March 22nd in downtown Mooresville. And then join us for our last Our Town Stage indoor entertainment series show, which is April 11th. And it's the Dolly Parton tribute show, and not any Dolly Parton show. It is the #1 Dolly Parton tribute show in the U.S., recognized by Dolly Parton herself. And you cannot get any closer to the actual Dolly.
Well, and I have just a couple things I want to talk about from the Parks and Recreation's perspective. Obviously, spring is coming, and spring ball registration is now open for the 2025 spring ball season. Youth League 6 to 17 and softball for adults. Registration is open until February 24th at 5 p.m., so go to mooresvillerecreation.org to sign up. And then the big event is this Saturday at Charles Mack Citizen Center. We're having our first annual Summer Camp Expo.
Woohoo!
And it's free and open to the public from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's an opportunity for you to learn about all opportunities for summer camp in the Mooresville and surrounding areas. It's a one-stop shop to discover a variety of exciting camps, programs, and services available for kids of all ages, abilities, and interests in Mooresville and surrounding areas. Obviously, we would love for your child to come to Mooresville Parks and Recreation Summer Camp, but spaces are limited, and so there are still a tremendous number of organizations and opportunities for summer camp in and around the area, and this is your opportunity to meet all of them in one place. So definitely, again, this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and again, admission is free, so there's no reason not to attend.
That's right. Get all your summer camp information this Saturday.
And then obviously, kind of piggybacking on that, summer camp registration will open up on March 12th at 9 a.m., available by phone or in person at all camp locations, which would be our recreation centers. And you may also register by going to the admin office at 750 West Iredale Avenue. But again, as I say every week, go to mooresvillerecreation.org to learn more, or visit our Facebook page, where our marketing team does an amazing job keeping you up to date on all things Parks and Recreation. So Mooresville Parks and Rec on Facebook.
And you can go to mooresvilleevents.com for upcoming ticket and event information.
All right. Well, John, thank you again. We appreciate you. Have fun at Daytona. I know that how can you not? We know what that's like, and we appreciate you coming. We'll have you back, and let's go racing.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this edition of Heart Mooresville and WSIC. We will talk to you next week. Have a great week.